All right, so if you joined this video, it means you already know about Goosly, you know the value of it, you have a plan, you want to start using it, but you want to understand how to use it. So in this video, I'm going to give you a quick demo of the interface of the application and basically what you can do with it. All right, so if we start, if you go to Goosly, goose.ly, if you're not logged in, you're gonna see this page, which is basically the landing page, and you can sign in here. Now we support Google single sign-on, Facebook, as well as being able to just use your email address to log in. If you try to log in with your email address, what happens is you receive a unique URL which you can use to sign in. So it uses kind of like this modern banking type of sign-in where you get an email with the link. We don't use passwords, so you're not gonna have to set up a password. But I have an account linked into my Google, so let me sign in. All right, so I sign in. So now I can go to my roadmaps. Usually if you just visit Goosly after you sign in, it will take you directly to your roadmaps. So my roadmap screen, this is where I see all of the roadmaps that I generated. Basically I created. So with Goosly you can create an infinite number of roadmaps completely for free. So you don't have to pay to create more roadmaps. You can create as many as you want. And you can create them for various purposes. As you can see here I have an Atlassian events where I keep track of all of the events that are happening across Atlassian ecosystem. So that's kind of like a calendar view. Then I also have a digital marketing roadmap where I can plan with my team and track all of the activities around marketing that are happening in the team. I can also edit these roadmaps by clicking on this icon here. So for example, if I go to, let's say this one, I hit edit, it will take me into the edit mode where I can control the activities and also the text underneath, and also I have this panel. I'm going to talk about that in a second. Let me first go and create a new roadmap. Let's start the journey from the beginning. If I could click here, create, so I have actually two options. I can either hit create new roadmap here, or I can click this button here to create a new roadmap. So let's do that again. Once I hit create roadmap, I'm encountered with this screen, which asks me what kind of roadmap do I want to create. Do I want to create a timeline, so basically time-based roadmap, or do I want to create a board roadmap where I can control what the columns are, I can control the workflow, or I can use both. So there's absolutely no shy in using two views for your roadmap. So now I selected both, so I can start creating. Right, as soon as I hit create, you'll see the roadmap. It has some predefined default data in here. So for example, there's an untitled title here, so I can change this and call it whatever I want. I can also give it a subtitle. I can change the background colors, and this whole side panel is dedicated to you configuring your roadmap page, similar like you would have seen with some of Unbound, some of the other tools where you edit a page, or MailChimp and so on. You have that side panel where you can amend your content, the content style, right? So I can select the background color. I can have it as a gradient. Let's go from red to black. That's a bit too dramatic, or like this. Or I can also have just one color by selecting both ends with the same color. Or I can choose a Unsplash picture to use as the background. So let's say I want this one. Okay, that's perfect. That looks really good. I can select the title color if, for example, the background doesn't work with that, so I can change it to dark or whatever other color. So there's a bit of customization there. Oh, I like this. Okay, let's keep it like that. There's a bit of customization here on the header side. Then underneath we have another option. It's the default zoom level. So this here is basically what the visitors will see on the landing page, on the roadmap page the view side, the non-editing side of it, when they land on it. So they can see the weekly, monthly, quarterly, or yearly. And I'll show you this in a second when we go to editing the items. So for example, let's say I want them to see weekly, and then I have another option that allows me to specify where I want my audience to land on the roadmap. Do I want them to land on today or on a specific set date? So for example, if my plan starts 2 months ago, and I want my team to, when they load the page, to load at the start of that plan, I can set that up. I can also set that up as a today, which means that it doesn't matter where the day today is, the today line, that's the middle of the roadmap that gets loaded. Let's leave that today. And I can also select to show or hide either the timeline view or the board view. And this will disable, if I hide one of them, it's going to disable the drop down here. With this drop down, I can change between the board and the timeline. So I can hide, let's say, the board and only have the timeline. It's really up to you. If you think you're not going to be using the board view, then you can just hide it. All right, but we'll leave it on for now. We have another tab here. So this is the customization tab. We also have the categories and tag. So you can select the category, basically what type of roadmap page are you creating for productivity, marketing, management, and so on. And you can also give it a tag. So you can create your own tags here. If you want to cluster your roadmaps based on specific tags and so on, let's say this is a creative roadmap. I can also add more than one categories here, right? The one thing that you will notice as I'm modifying these things, I'm getting this notification on top here that you have unsaved changes. So the roadmap doesn't automatically save your changes. You have to save them, and you'll save them as a draft first, and then you can publish as well. This means that in the future, we can also have iterations and show you the iterations and go back to the previous iteration and so on. So this helps with that, having this saved draft, and I'm saying, okay, this is an iteration. Now I saved an iteration, right? And now after that clears, it shows me that I have unpublished changes because I have not published yet. I'm going to finish my roadmap before I publish. And we're going to go through that in a second. Now, the roadmap page is split into two sections. There's the roadmap, and then there's the additional content section where I establish, basically I give additional context about this specific plan that I'm creating. And this is what I found really useful because fundamentally, it might be hard for your team to come in and look at a very established plan and make sense of it. So you might want to give them additional details on the bottom section on how to digest that information and what exactly that information is. Right, but let's start with the roadmap. With the roadmap, when you create a roadmap, you'll have these three default activities created here, which you can work with, you can move them around, you can resize them, and basically just change the details, because again, these are just instructions. So I can change the title here. We have a emoji selector, which you can use however you please. It can be like a label for your activity or a status or whatever you want to use it as. So I can change this. I can change this as well. The title. I can select the group. At the moment, I don't have groups, and I'm going to talk about that. And I can also put a description of this activity here, and I can change the color if I want to signal, for example, oh, there's an issue with this, so I'll put a red color here. You can create a new activity on the timeline by clicking on this create new and then selecting activity here, and you'll get a very similar form like you've seen in the edit view, which is the title, the emoji there, start and end date when you want this activity to start and end, and also the group here. But there's another way for you to create activities, which is a lot faster, which is specifically, let's move on here, where's clean slate? It's just double clicking and then typing. Hit enter, and that's an activity. Then I can resize it if I want to. I can double click to create another one. You must excuse my phony names here, naming convention, but I a lack of inspiration just now while I'm doing this test. Okay, so I can select an emoji there. So those are two activities. So like that, I can create as many activities as I want, just double clicking and quickly typing the text. This helps you sketch your plans really quickly before you go into details and you click on it, on one of the activities, and you put the details in the description and other information and so on. If I zoom out, now I'm at weekly view. So, and because I've selected here the zoom level weekly, this is what my audience is going to see when they load the page. Audience, team, I use this interchangeable because again, you can share plans with publicly with your audience or internally with the team. Now, if I double click on the roadmap, you'll see that it created an activity that's longer. This is a 1 week long activity, except the weekend. And every time I zoom out, when I double click to create an activity, it will create it on that segment. So if I'm zoomed out at a month, it's going to create a month activity. Let's try that. Oh, the other way around. Okay. There you go. It's a month long activity. All right, let's zoom back in. All right, and I can navigate this by dragging. Now I can also create groups. Now groups are the rows, so I can basically group elements in rows. So let's say this is marketing, and we'll create another one, another group that is development. All right, so now if I double click here, you'll see that it creates an activity under the marketing group. And you also see that it took the color that the group has, which is this pink. Now I can create more items here. And I can also create in development. And again, this actually had the same color. But if I open it and change the default color, the group color, to be, let's say, green. Now, once I create another activity, you'll see that it's green. Yeah, and again, I can resize this for the duration of that activity. So now I have a plan here, a mock plan, as you can see, but I have a plan. And it took me literally super fast. I don't want to say seconds, but it took me super fast to sketch this up, create groups, type really quickly, set up everything together. And then if I move into the board, well, let's just save the draft, just that we have it saved, peace of mind there. Then we move to the board. Now with the board, you will have predefined these 3 columns: to do, in progress, done. You can click on them and change. Yeah, I can also create more as a column. Let's call it deployed. Look for that just yet. Okay, create. Yeah, and that created another column in here, and I can basically create as many columns as I want. Now I can move items there. So for example, let's say this bureau task, I can move it here. And I also have this unassigned tab, and this unassigned tab gives me basically all of the activities that I've scheduled earlier on the timeline. Yeah, I have them now on the board under unassigned here, and I can schedule them as well. Okay, so if I assign backend, now one thing that you will notice, this notion of start column and end column, which allows me to do this. Okay, let's close this. We actually have, we actually can assign an activity to multiple columns. The way you can assign an activity to multiple dates and multiple date slots and extended, the same thing, same principle here with the column, with the custom columns. I can assign an activity across multiple columns. Now, in this scenario, may or may not make sense. So, like for example, you can't really have an activity that's say in progress and complete in the same time. But if you would have these columns as sprint 1, sprint 2, sprint 3, and so on, or phase 1, phase 2, inflection point, whatever you want your columns to be, you can, it is not unfamiliar to have an epic, for example, or a story across 2 sprints or 2 phases and so on. In the same time, even with workflows, you might have, let's say, in development and testing, 2 different workflows, and have an activity that spans across both of them. So that's the purpose of it. But again, this screen works exactly like the timeline. You have the exact same details which you can edit. And the other thing that you will notice is that the groups are carried forward from between the 2 views. And this is another cool feature because it allows you to see in this columns and rows and have this this grid where you can plot your activities, which I find it really cool. Underneath, you have a Notion-like editor. This is an inline editor. I can hit enter here and create a new row. And I have this add button here, which reveals a bunch of widgets that I can use in here. So I can use a text one, which anyways, that's the default one. And then with this, if I hover this dotted menu here, I can modify this paragraph. So I can put the text in the middle, I can put it on the left, like that, or I can delete it, and I can also move it on top. So now I moved it on top, and then I can also, if I copy it, sorry, if I highlight it, I can change this to a heading, to a list, quote, alert, or checklist. So let's say heading. I made this a heading. Now if I click on this menu, the menu changed because this is a heading now, so I can change to a different type of heading. Yeah, let's add another one. You can see heading here. I can add an image. So let's select an image. Okay, we selected our announcement that we moved to 4 days a week, which is pretty cool. So I can modify again. I can set, so each menu is different for different widget. So I can put some border on, I can stretch the image if I want to, and let's see that there's a menu, there's an icon here that allows you to close the side menu. Yeah, and this allows you to view the page very similar in edit mode like you would see it in view mode, which is stretch across. So I can edit this image properly here. I can put it with the background or not. Let's not make it stretched, and border. Yeah, this is quite wide anyways. So that's image. You can add as many images as you want. Let's look at another element. List, which it's a list, you know what that is. Link. Now with the links, the cool stuff is that it loads cards. So if you want a preloaded meta card, you can do it here. So let's look at an example and see what happens. There you go. You see it loaded a meta card with the title, description, the link, and a preview of the image, the meta image there. So it's pretty cool because it means you can load cards like this. Of course, you can also just highlight a piece of text and basically make it a link like this. And that will just make it a regular link. But if you want cards like this, you can do that as well. Okay, let's see something else. You also have code, so you can put pieces of code. I'm not going to show that. Quotation. You have this cool alert box, so I can say hello warning, and then I can go to the menu here and change it to a warning color or a safe or a red and so on. And I can also change the style, and I'm just going to show you also they have tables and delimiter. The cool thing, you have also this checklist, which we can try. So now we have a checklist, a functional checklist, so I can click on these items and it will save them exactly like this when I save. So now let's hit save. And as I mentioned, you can use this in order to create a story behind your plan, your roadmap, and really give context and some rich content in there to make a stronger case around what your plan is. All right, so let's say this is our plan. It's looking really good. We're ready to publish, and we can hit save and publish here. When I do that, I have this pop-up that allows me to save as a private roadmap, unlisted, or public. For the sake of this test, we'll just keep it private. And if I hit publish here, you'll see that I'm shown that this roadmap was published, is published privately. So at the moment, it's only that I have access to it. But I can invite my team by adding their emails here, and I can invite my team either as a viewer or as an editor. If I choose viewer, they can only see the roadmap, they can't touch anything there. If it's as an editor, it means that they will be able to do exactly the same things that I'm able to do, edit absolutely anything in the roadmap. What happens is, if I'm editing and I have an editor that's coming in and wants to edit, I have to exit. So it's kind of like similar to content management systems where if you're writing an article and someone comes, a contributor comes in, they will not be able to edit until you get out of the page. So that's basically how it currently works, right? I can also hit this to take me to my roadmap, and this is the view mode of the roadmap, where I can't really edit anything here, but I can see exactly what my audience or my team will be able to see. And I can navigate, and as you can see, it loads in the weekly view as expected. And because I have both timeline and board, I can change between timeline and board. I see the content exactly how I was seeing it when I was editing it. And if I want to, I can also enter full screen. And this just expands the whole roadmap, and it allows me a more comfortable navigation. And if I'm editing, a more comfortable editing, because I can expand in edit mode as well. And as a user, I'm also able to zoom out and zoom in. Again, I can zoom out from day, week, month, quarter, and year. So you can basically plan at whatever level you want. Okay. And I can also invite more people by clicking this invite item here. I copy a roadmap. So for example, if I want to replicate, if I've executed a plan and I want to replicate the exact same plan, because this is my template, I can do that very easily. I just need to specify when my plan is going to start, or when my plan is going to end. If, for example, I know when I want to finish this project, then I can say I want it to end on this specific date, and it will just draw everything from the end to when the first activity needs to start. And the opposite if I select where I want to start. And you can also have more information here. I can see more information about this item, and if I'm the editor, I have the edit button over here. On the bottom, I can see who the creator of this activity is, of this roadmap page is, and also have a like system and a views system. So all of the roadmap pages will have this likes and views here. And again, I have the same buttons here. That's about it for creating and editing roadmaps and viewing roadmaps. In terms of the navigation, you also have a shared with me tab here, and you'll find here all of the roadmaps that aren't yours but have been shared with you by your teammates or other people, either in view mode or in edit mode. So you will see these, and you see the status of them, so the state of them. So some of them are private, some of them are public. You can see this everywhere. You can see this on my roadmaps as well. I can see which roadmaps are private and which ones are public. on the card here, and also on the card I can see whether on this shared roadmap am I an editor or not. If there's no editor label, it means I'm just a viewer. Also on the cards I can see the name of the roadmap as well as a screenshot of the roadmap and what I can find inside. And these cards are found across all of these 3 tabs. The third tab is the Discover roadmap. So these are public roadmaps that anyone can share and anyone can view. And I can basically filter by categories. If you remember, we set a category for a roadmap. So here I can just get inspired by roadmaps or look at other people's roadmap or copy roadmaps for productivity, marketing, and other type of categories. And I can see here this highlighted section as the most popular roadmaps. And these are the roadmaps that have the highest views and the highest likes. So it's a ratio between likes and views. I also have additional filters like title. I can search by title, by tags, and also I can order by most liked, most viewed, and so on. And yeah, this section is usually for to explore and learn about others' roadmaps. There might be fun roadmaps like this, the Marvel timeline. I've created a Formula 1 calendar. We have the Monaco Grand Prix coming up next, and you can see the details around there. Yeah, the application also has dark mode, so if you're more into, you know, this kind of like chill night work, you can use the dark mode. Everything works as it should in dark mode. The roadmap, I see it in dark mode here. And the last bit that I wanted to mention, with these roadmaps, I can also embed them. So for example, this roadmap that I just created, I can go into edit mode. So here, if I go to unlisted, I also have this. So for unlisted and public roadmaps, you can embed them on your own websites. So I have this share. I can share on Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, and so on. I can copy the link and share it again for unlisted and public ones. And I can also use this embed. And with this embed, I get an iframe that will load only the timeline, not the page, just the timeline. So I can specify if I want it in light or dark mode. I can have an embed of the dark roadmap. I can specify the width and the height that I need. And I can also specify whether I want to embed the timeline or the board views, which is pretty neat. And then I just copy this iframe code. And again, what will appear is this section in here, embedded wherever I need it embedded on my website or wherever else. And yeah, there's also a few more options here. There's a shift all roadmap dates. So for example, if you want to shift your dates because your plans have changed, or you created a roadmap but you haven't started your project yet, you can shift easily all of the dates, and you can also delete the roadmap from here. Other than that, you also have your account settings here. So I can change my display name and my avatar, my logging settings, notifications. Also, I can specify what kind of emails do I want to receive, product updates and announcements, resources, all of these. So I can enable and disable this, and I can also delete the account if I want to. That's the whole walkthrough of the application. Hope this is useful. I know it's a bit lengthy, but there you go. That's a full demo of the platform, the application. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video. Bye.